Hello, good morning, and welcome to our 2018 Holiday Readiness Plan webinar on this beautiful Tuesday morning. I'm Mike Eugenio from Sellbrite, coming to you live from Pasadena, California, and I am delighted to have Jennifer Deal from eBay, eBay Promotions Specialist Extraordinaire, who knows everything about what you guys need to do this holiday season. Jennifer is up in the Silicon Valley area at one of eBay's awesome offices, and she's got a really cool backdrop with all of these eBay fancy holiday colors behind her. We're really excited to share some tips with everybody today to cover some of the opportunities that are out there this holiday season, as well as lots of the different tools available for sellers that you may or may not know about yet that we think you should definitely take advantage of for the holidays, and then also including some advice from other sellers, so that you can kind of get the opinions of sellers that have also had success over the holidays. So we've got a great presentation. Also, by the way, happy Election Day. Hope everybody has gotten out and voted. If not, there's still plenty of time. It's important to make sure you get your voice heard, but don't want to forget mentioning that. We're just excited to be able to offer this today and looking forward to an exciting couple months for the holidays selling on eBay. Quick housekeeping, on the top right corner of your screen, you'll see a little questions box. Don't hesitate to send us any questions that you have about the content that you see at any point during the presentation. We're going to make sure to get to all of them. We've got plenty of time afterwards to answer all of your questions. And similarly, if you have any technical difficulties or any issues hearing us or seeing us, please use that chat box as well. I want to make sure that everything is crystal clear for everybody today. So that's about it. And without further ado, I am delighted to introduce Jennifer Deal from eBay, who's going to take you all through the things that you need to know this holiday season.
Thanks, Mike. It's great to be here. I hope everyone can hear me. So I'm not going to delay here because it's already happening. The selling season has started. So what I'm going to do is walk everyone through some playbook material that we have here. And if you're interested, you can check out the playbook online also at ebay.com/holiday playbook. And I talked to. So let me get going here. So just to bring you a little bit through what the agenda is going to have today, we're going to talk a little bit about the mission that I believe all of us have, what holidays are like at eBay, a couple of the tools that we want to recommend that you use, and some better habits that we want to encourage. And then finally, we'll kind of go out with a little bit of a rah-rah at the end. So we'll start with the mission. When we think about selling during the holiday season or Q4, we generally think about the opportunity for more sales. I don't think that is different any other time of the year, but this is the time of the year where we really focus on it. And for many of us, sometimes this is our peak season. So the formula for success that we know the results are going to come from are when we're offering as sellers the right product at the right time, delivering the best possible experience. So keeping that in mind, I just want to touch on what happened last year in the industry and on site. In 2017, Holiday Online demolished all the records. eBay was growing at a pace that was actually faster than the industry. And to put that into perspective, Amazon's growth was half the pace of all other top internet retailers. Some of that is just kind of the math of the fact that they are large in the marketplace space and they have a little less room for growth, typically, versus someone that's newer to marketplace spaces like a Walmart, where they've kind of invested recently in the last couple of years in their online domain, and they're really growing at a faster pace. And likewise, we have been growing. We've been around for a long time, but every year we have newer experiences, new technologies, new features to offer sellers so that you can grow at a stronger pace as well. And that's what we're seeing happening in the industry. So we actually grew at a 16% rate last year. The numbers in general for the industry are pretty awesome as well and staggering. A lot of this is just given or as a result because of how technology has moved through, through multi-screen shopping enhancements and things like that. And so online sales grow 3 times the rate of brick and mortar. And we see that of that, the marketplaces specifically are accounting for 50% of the growth online in general. So that's pretty awesome if you think about the opportunity that you have in this space online. And then specifically when it comes to eBay, we are still the second most trafficked site in e-commerce in the world. And this is a lot of runway for those of you that may just be starting out here or that are expanding your business. To capture that kind of velocity and impression level on one marketplace is a pretty incredible opportunity. We also have 177 million active buyers on eBay, and they are still growing. So let's talk about what's happening and what you do next. I wanted to show you a little bit of what we're putting out into the marketplace. And let's make sure this video plays. Because this is really awesome.
Open up your eyes, you're about to see a new thing. Open up your eyes, you're about to see a new thing. Open up your eyes, you're about to see a new thing. Open up your eyes, you're about to see a new thing. Everybody want a new thing. Pick it if you like it, everybody want a new thing.
If I end up presenting.
So that was a sneak peek into one of our holiday spots that we are promoting or advertising in many, many different channels on network. We have the same campaign that says, if it's happening on eBay. And basically this comes from the truth that we've sort of been hiding behind all along, where everything that's cool, interesting, and that you care about is also happening on the website. So we are embracing this truth about ourselves and really putting an impressive holiday campaign into the marketplace in multi-channels. We have taken over some cities. We have outdoor advertising. What this really translates to is, again, we're driving new buyers to the site every single day. We're really bringing the impression levels up in the season where they naturally tend to spike anyway, but we're giving people a reason to come here. And what they're finding on site is an amazing experience, awesome deals, and pretty much everything that you can think of is on the website.
I would do the handouts and maybe because they're not presentation, you can do a little more detail.
So let's talk a little bit about timing. And what I'm showing here is available at the Holiday Playbook. But it's basically a calendar and what's coming up over the next few weeks, giving you a little bit of insight and tips around where you should be looking at what you're doing in that time period, and also considering what the buyer's mindset is in that time frame. Because we have lots of different buyers, but there's also pretty large pockets of buyers that are looking at particular products at certain times. And for example, one of that is this week. We kicked off holiday on November 1st, and there's
I think it's a reading document.
there's a
as you
hold on one second, guys. Sorry, I've got a couple distractions here. Okay, sorry. Had to try to minimize some of the background. Apologies for that technical difficulty. So this week, as we look at the holiday season, we've already kicked off and we've seen in the marketplace that Black Friday deals are already out there. This month is really about those types of investments, but specifically right now, what we're seeing flying off the shelves are things that are home entertainment, home decor focused. Fashion is flying, like those ugly Christmas sweaters. Everyone's on top of that right now. They're buying dresses for the holiday season, winter gear, travel gear, etc. So there's certain times throughout the season where you're going to see spikes behind some of the purchases, and we have this outlined for you on this playbook. One call out I do want to make is that this year we have the longest possible holiday season. There are 32 days, which is more than a month, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So there's a lot of upside to this. That means that there's going to be more activities that buyers want to prepare, plan, and shop for. There's more what we call the higher margin days, meaning outside of Cyber Week, which is your Black Friday, your Small Business Saturday, your Cyber Monday, where people really look for discounts. You've got other days throughout the season where you can sell things at sort of that normal price or higher margin price. And then there's more self-gifting days or impulse buys that happen during this time because there's more time to shop. And so people kind of do the one for you, one for me sort of habit. And so you've got plenty of time through the whole season to take advantage of that. Now, the downside is on the shipping side, our carriers don't actually get a reprieve. They probably have more to deliver. So you want to be cognizant of making sure that you're organized in that shipping area. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But also you want to be aware that you don't get a little bit lazy because you've got that extra time in there. And that's not necessarily a bad thing that you can't relax during the season. But if this is particularly your growth season, then you want to take advantage of every minute that you can. So keep that in mind and sort of plan for that in advance. And let's talk about how you're going to do that. So we have some eBay tools that have rolled out with new features and things that are really going to help you figure out how to prepare for the busiest time of the year. I know that you all have a dashboard through Sellbrite, but you also have access to the Seller Hub, which is directly in your eBay accounts. And we like to refer to the Seller Hub as your side view mirrors. This kind of tells you what's going on with your accounts on eBay. You can look at your performance, you can manage your listings, your orders, you can see post-transaction metrics, and we're going to break some of that down in this presentation. Not all of it, so I encourage you to go there. But a couple things I want to point out are that we have a tab in Seller Hub called the Growth tab. And here in one place, you can see what listings we actually recommend need improvements. It gives you information on how competitive you are to similar products and similar sellers in your space. It actually tells you if you don't have enough content in maybe your title. It'll prompt you for other item specifics that you can add or attributes you can add to make sure that your inventory is findable on site. If you sell multi-SKUs, we actually give restock advice and kind of a calendar of when, based on the velocity of sales, when you might have to restock so that you don't have stockouts. And there's also a feature where you can actually search and get sourcing guidance on sales specifically on eBay. So you can look to see when winter gear, for example, specifically spikes during the season. On the other tab called Performance, you can look at a lot of things there. And I know that you've got metrics you can see as well through Sellbrite. But one area I want to point out to you is called Service Metrics. And Service Metrics is actually a dashboard that we give you for any post-transaction feedback from customers and things like why you had a return come in that was noted as not as described or something that didn't arrive to a buyer. We actually break down reasons for those types of returns and show you, again, how you compare to the marketplace so that you can see if maybe there's something a little bit different about what you're doing versus what your competition's doing. It prompts you sometimes to think about your supply chain, to think about what might be happening with your listings versus somebody else's. Because the way that Service Metrics works is there's kind of an average of performance, and then we stack rank. So the little to do here tip is to check out the data, look for look for your visibility stats, look for your listing improvement tips, check out timing on restock, and then really use these as your side view mirrors to see if you need to change direction at any point during the season. The other area in Seller Hub is the marketing tab. And two things that I want to point out in the marketing tab are tools called Promotions Manager and Promoted Listings. And I love to refer to these two as the powerhouse couple. The reason why is because under Promotions Manager, you can create discounts for your buyers. You can set up an order discount. You can look at shipping discounts. If, for example, you have buyers that order more than $50, you can provide free shipping after that point. The newest feature in there is actually called volume discount. And I'm going to really encourage that, and I'm actually going to show you a screenshot in the next slide about that. So I'm going to pause on that for a second. But volume discount is not unknown in the industry. It's basically if you buy an item or multiples of one item, then you're offering your buyer a little bit of a discount on those second, third, fourth, etc. purchases. So we have a new treatment for that, which is really driving up the lift in sales conversion. And so I'll show you that in a second. But let's go back to the powerhouse couple. Imagine that you have set up all these discounts and you have these great, amazing deals that you're going to be able to offer to your buyers during the season. What you want to do then is get visibility on those products, and how you do that is with promoted listings. And promoted listings is a cost per sale advertising tool that you can use within the marketplace. You can set up your promotions and really see a 30% lift in the visibility of all of the listings that you're promoting. You set up your budget, you determine what you're comfortable with based on your margins, and then you only pay if you actually sell an item where someone has actually clicked on the ad and then made a purchase. So that's a pretty awesome way to get some visibility to your store and to the products in your store with very little risk. Now, that's awesome about this powerhouse couple is that you can also schedule in advance all of these promotions and advertising campaigns that you set up, and that's going to save you a lot of time throughout the season. You can start and stop them at any point. You can create your own 12 days of Christmas campaign or a Black Friday campaign, or even all the way through the end of the year. You can set up an end of season sale, and you can do all of that now and just schedule it so you don't have to think about it so much. And you can manage this from inside Seller Hub as well. So coming back to that volume pricing, I just wanted to show you really quickly here that it's a pretty easy UX or experience for you to set up your offer. You'll determine what discounts that you want to offer after that first purchase. So if it's 2 or more, you can save 10%, for example, 3 or more, 20%, 4 or more. You can even do odd numbers. So I put in 57% on these, and then you'll add your SKUs and your time period that you want to offer this. And then onto the right, you'll see what that experience looks like for the buyer. This is pretty amazing. This is where the lift is coming from, is that we're making it really, really easy with one click and very obvious pricing for the buyer so that they can see if I buy multiples of this item, I'm going to pay a lower price. So we're seeing great conversions come from that new feature. This is a quick screenshot of the service metrics that I had mentioned. Again, what you're going to see here in the performance tab are the reasons for returns. We break that down, and so you can understand if items are being returned because they're incorrect, and maybe that is a shipping issue that you need to deal with, or something in the warehouse, a pick and pack issue. We show you what your rate is, and then we have a comparison again amongst the peer group, and your peer group is defined by similar items and sellers. So you're not compared to the entire site, but something that's much tighter to the space that you're in. And then you'll actually see drop downs of these metrics based on your separate categories that you sell in case you sell in multiple categories. So if you haven't seen that yet, I encourage you to check that out. And then what I did want to share, as Mike mentioned at the beginning, is that we've talked to many, many, many sellers throughout the year, and specifically about holiday season. And these were the top 3 pieces of advice that we heard from every single one of them in this priority order. And these were from sellers that had been on the platform 18 months or less, all the way to 10 plus years or more. So the range of sellers is, tenure. It spans, but they all seem to say the same thing, and that is basically be organized during holiday season. Be extremely organized. The very first thing that everybody encouraged to be organized behind was the inventory system, having a system in place and staying on top of their inventory so they didn't lose product or waste time in peak selling periods. The second thing was a shipping system, and this was really behind or getting behind making sure that you're streamlining your either whether it's your warehouse or if you're a smaller operation, making sure that all of your area is sorted so that you can quickly pull together your orders, package them, and get them out the door. Making sure that your supplies were ordered and stocked was a big tip from someone who had been in the business less than 18 months, because one year apparently he ran out of supplies in the middle of it and couldn't get it from the post office in time, and he was using priority mailboxes. So he made sure he ordered those in advance for this season. And then finally, and this may be new to all of you, but joining the community, and this is the eBay community. I'm sure have a great community at Sellbrite. You can work amongst each other and talk amongst each other there, but also know that you have a community at eBay. And I'll admit, this one is a little bit surprising to me, because it's not really a tool or very tangible thing that you can get behind, but a lot of sellers encouraged reaching out to and getting advice from other sellers in the space, whether that's through our community boards, through Facebook, or through Twitter. We find a lot of sellers are actually learning how to ramp their businesses or solve their issues very quickly by reaching out to the community. So take advantage of these channels as well. We have a podcast. As I mentioned, we have a community board, and we have social engagement as well as our YouTube channels. And then this leads us to better habits. Now, you're all definitely the experts in your space. And when we talk about better habits, we really talk about delivering retail standards on eBay. And what that means is when you manage a marketplace as large as ours, we want to help all of our customers, who are the buyers, have the best experience possible, regardless of what they're purchasing on site. Because what that translates to is that they're satisfied, they come back, they buy more, and those are your customers that are going to come back and buy more. But they don't necessarily do that if they have a terrible experience. And so trying to create standards on a marketplace that we also try to keep as open and accessible as we do is challenging. So we really rely on all of you to deliver the best service possible. Now, the first thing that we think about when we talk about this is how you're elevating your listings. And this is more than just the best practices behind actually presenting amazing listings to your buyers, but it actually also literally helps elevate your listings in search. And so that's why I present it this way. And here's some tips. I know this is a little bit of an eye chart, but I'm going to call out a couple for you to keep in mind. We don't necessarily require white backgrounds, but having that clutter-free white background is required to show up in Google search. And we invest a lot in the Google search advertising programs so that people that are searching for anything on site know that it's available on eBay, and they can click right into that listing, but they don't show up if those are not on clutter-free white backgrounds. So that's a big one that, as a best practice, if you can apply that to your business, that's going to help you out a lot. Not only increases your visibility on site, but again, also on Google search engines. There's another area here that I want to call out, and that's using attributes and item specifics. And I understand from Mike that they update their feeds every single day. So it's awesome. This is all accessible to you. But using attributes and item specifics, again, helps searchability and on-site and off-site. We added thousands more across the categories to help match buyers to common searches, and we did this around the world. So all of our sites, native sites, have had thousands of attributes and item specifics added to the listing flow, and what those match up to are the buyer's most common searches and search terms. So whether that's a brand, a size, a model number, a part number, a type of material. I mean, you know, even if you're putting in fashion in particular, I will say that if you don't have like SKUs or parts, I mean, not part numbers, but UPCs or anything like that, you can still add attributes that help match to a buyer search based on style, cut, color, you know, even an event. If it's like a formal versus a semi-formal, these are all available to you under attributes. So take a look for that. And then the last thing I'm going to call out on this slide is to compete on something other than price. I think oftentimes we tend to get a little bit conformist, especially when we talk about retail standards. You know, everything tends to look the same, but you offer something that somebody else doesn't, and if you want to get behind that. And so in your descriptions, in your listing title, if it makes sense, put in things that are going to appeal to your buyer. And that might be things like it's sustainable, it's handcrafted, it's made in the US, it has a warranty, or you're offering gift wrap during the season. And I have a little asterisk behind this because you can actually add gift wrap as a service to a listing. And I give you a little bit of how to. If you're all interested, we can talk about that at the end. Okay, some other new things that are happening on eBay. We are now also guaranteeing shipments, and these are specifically shipments that we identify as fast and free. And they're identified by fast and free based on the information that you're providing to us. So if you tell us that you're able to deliver in 4 days or less, and you consistently do that, and your handling time is 0 or 1 day, you're providing us a zip code and you're uploading that tracking, we can see that and we can determine that these are fast and free to particular customers around the regions, and those get actually tagged with a fast and free logo. And we have a couple of those examples there, but what's amazing now is that there's seller protection behind this. So if an item actually shows up after the date that we're guaranteeing that it's going to be delivered by, then we're going to protect you in whether there's a return cost behind that, you know, feedback, all those things. Like, we want to be sure that when you deliver your promise, that you don't have a backlash from our customers if something does not quite go right with the carrier. This is super important at this time of year because, as I said, the carriers get super, well, you know, they are extremely busy and there's a lot to manage. Packages may get lost, they may get delayed, we've got weather. So know that we're now guaranteeing shipments on fast and free items. So I encourage you that if you can handle the faster timelines, please let us help you also get to the top of search and convert those sales by providing that tracking and a valid zip code so that we can get you in the algo and show people this in their listings. And then returns. Returns matter. They are kind of terrible for any of us that are sellers. I'm actually an active seller on eBay as well. I hate every single return that I get, but it is just a fact of how things go in my business, at least, on site. Returns are what we identified as in demand. Like, buyers have an expectation that if they're buying something, they don't want to get stuck with it if it's not quite the right thing. So it's not necessarily that you actually did something wrong in shipping out an item. It's just that maybe they received it and it wasn't quite what they needed or wasn't quite right. It just wasn't what they expected. Now, and then there are things that do go wrong. It's broken in shipment, not all the parts were there, etc. But in general, returns matter to that buyer. And as a seller, if you're able to offer returns, it gives you that competitive advantage because it's one less thing that person has to worry about when they're making all these purchases through the season. And you know, they don't want to have to be bogged down or bothered by the fact that something's may go wrong and they won't have an out. They're tough. So we actually provide a returns calculator so that you can manage the budgeting a little bit or your margins a little bit just by plugging in your transactions for the last 90 days, the number of returns that you've had there, and total cost of return. So these would be the costs associated to shipping, handling, packaging, whatever it is. You can plug those numbers in, and then we'll give you what to add to each of your items as a buffer to help support the cost of returns. So a few closing thoughts, because I want to be sure that we give you all plenty of time to ask questions as well. These are from our customers on eBay. We have a buyer actually that has told us that shoppers know that they're going to find their sought after items on eBay. We have millions and millions of products across multiple categories on site. And this particular person specifically, she says, I can't tell you how many times I've searched many stores for certain toy that my son wanted, and they only found it on eBay. This definitely becomes the case during the holiday season. If you all remember a couple years ago when Hatchimals was a big thing, it was sold out in stores, and the only place you could find it online or anywhere on the planet was actually on eBay. Might have cost a little bit more, but if you really, really, really needed Santa to deliver that, this was the place to get it. And we recognize that and embrace that, and we know that those things are here because of sellers like you. So you know, this is something that we want to continue to deliver to our customers in partnership is the best experience that they can to find whatever they need on site. And then for our sellers, it's that aim for success. Marcia has said planning ahead is what gives you edge over other sellers. So we're hoping that this webinar and some of the content in here gives you some things to think about how to plan for the season. You don't necessarily have to pick up everything that we talked about here, but there's some things that resonate for you where you haven't tried out Promotions Manager, for example. You might want to just check it out for the season and see how that changes your business. And as a reminder, some of the things that you can go to for resources and things to think about would be to check out our playbook. Again, it's ebay.com/holidayplaybook. That's going to be there throughout the whole season. What we'll actually post there in a week or so are the carrier deadlines for holidays so that you can have a printable and post that up on your wall if you don't already have it in your calendar. You can order branded shipping supplies. If you didn't know, you can get eBay tape, poly bags, boxes, etc., and you can order that on eBay. But it's a nice touch and it's a nice way to promote the fact that you're an eBay store seller out to your customers. You should be looking at updating your store policies, returns, shipping, international, specifically setting, if you're an international seller, how you can distinguish whether you take returns for international or not. That's available to you, and that's actually fairly new this year. Again, the shipping, if you can set up all the valid tracking and labels that you want to use, things like that, look at that now. Look out for announcements and newsletters. We send out a newsletter every couple weeks, which gives you kind of an update of what's going on. We give inspiration in there, and we give tools, information in there as well. And we also do that on the announcements board through community. So these are a couple channels where you can continue to learn more about what's happening on eBay. We do change often because we are a tech company, really, in a marketplace that enables your businesses. And so we want to improve the experience all the time. But as we are in this season, we want to be sure that you're well aware of things that are happening. And then finally, a big thank you. Our selling season has started, but it started with you, and it will continue to be a success with you. So thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions, I think we can open up the floor now. Mike, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Yeah, we've definitely got a bunch of questions that have come in, and we'll get to them. I just want to reiterate a couple of things that I think were the best takeaways from all of that content, and that was really, really great because you covered so many different things that I'm positive that most sellers aren't utilizing every single one of those tools. But on the advice from sellers, having an inventory system and having a shipping system, fortunately, if you're using Sellbrite, you've got those things covered, and we do a pretty good job with that stuff. But what we don't really excel with, to be completely frank, is offering a community for our sellers to work together and to share tips. And I actually would love to figure out a medium that works best for our sellers. And I don't necessarily know what the most important points of a community are for them. So one thing that I would just say, put out there for anybody who likes that type of resource, is to feel free to suggest or recommend an example of a community where they do draw inspiration, or they can find advice, or they feel that they've gotten value. Because I would love to be able to offer that. We have so many eBay sellers that use Sellbrite, and oftentimes they have fantastic insights that they are excited to share with us, but we don't necessarily do the best job of then making sure that other sellers can take advantage of those things. And we're trying to be a little bit more polished on that front. So don't hesitate to send in ideas at any point, whether it's through the webinar or directly. You can always email us at support@sellbrite.com. Another thing that I think is key is just in the elevating listings concept. There are so many things that a seller can do to make their listing stand out. And we've got a couple of questions that have come in on clutter-free images that we'll get to in a minute. But in particular, leveraging the item specifics is kind of a no-brainer. I mean, it's going to enable you to make sure that your product is as fully exposed as it possibly can be, because you just don't know how people are going to search and what's important for them when they're browsing. Or even if they are searching and they're just browsing. A lot of shoppers will just kind of casually browse and look for attributes that fit their specific need or their specific body or their specific lifestyle or what have you, depending on the category. And that's the only way you're going to be found in that regard. And then competing on something other than price is so kind of core to being successful as a retailer, especially if you sell anything that's where there's a lot of competition, where it's somewhat commoditized. Being able to offer like that guarantee, or being able to offer a better kind of description of your product, being a little more authentic with your voice. Obviously, having a better returns policy is huge. Highlighting where it's made, those things do matter, and it's a great way to stand out. So that's a great takeaway. And then lastly, on the guarantee shipment side, eBay sellers that use Sellbrite probably know that we actually have an integrated solution for taking advantage of guaranteed delivery. So in order to hit those delivered by windows, if you have a top seller that you want to get into this program, but you're not sure if you can handle it on the fulfillment side on your own, I highly recommend checking in with us on our partner Deliver, which works closely with eBay to take advantage of the eBay guaranteed delivery tags and those fast shipping tags. So really big opportunity. If you're not already considering that, definitely recommend doing that. But okay, so let's jump into some questions. And first and foremost, a number of people have asked about sharing these slides. So we are recording this webinar. We are going to, don't worry, I'm going to do a little doctoring on the video to clear out some of the background noise. But I think it'll be great. We're going to share this, and you'll be able to access all these slides, and it'll be shared. I think you're going to get an email copied, as well as we'll share it on the Sellbrite.com website. So let's see here. So going back to those clutter-free images, Marco asks, can you define clutter-free backgrounds? We have cropped images, but prefer listing secondhand items on eBay using uncropped images, which we think gives the item a more realistic look. So yeah, that's an interesting strategy. I don't know, is there a definition, Jennifer, for a clutter-free description, or for what constitutes whether it will qualify for Google search?
Yep. So basically, for Google search, it's literally like an item on a plain white background. But here, let me give you some tips. There's movement, I'm going to say, right, in some of the marketplace spaces where you might want to style your particular product, and you can do that clutter-free in essence, right? If you have shoes, for example, and you have a little bit of a backdrop where you put like a pair of jeans next to it, you know, and kind of style it. That's doable. You can still do that on eBay, but here's how you're gonna do it. You have multiple images that you can put into your listing, and what you want to do is keep that very first one, the white, just the item on a plain white background, and then you can sort of style everything else. Show the different angles in photos 2 through 50 or however many. I don't even know that we have a max, but you want all your multiple items to have. If you're adding that kind of thing, some people have a preferred background, like against a brick wall or something like that. Clutter free really means don't take a picture of the item on your desk and show like the keyboard and the pencils and everything behind it. Clear all that out and then just take a photo of the item. So that is the center of attention. But specifically for Google, it's the item on a plain white background. And then you can use both in your listings so that you have that opportunity to show up on Google and also to style your items. Does that answer your question? Oh, hopefully that answers your question, Marco.
I think that was very thorough. So Madison actually asked kind of a follow-up on that. Do all the photos in the listing need to be clutter-free or just the primary image?
Again, so I would say yes, but that's sort of the best practice. Generally, as a buyer, people don't want to see other stuff around their item. They want to kind of stay focused on what that item is, and they want the best possible views or angles of that item. Sometimes when you can sort of see the kitchen in the background, that's a little bit distracting, for example. So prop up a board behind it or a sheet or, something that just kind of clears everything else.
All right. Let's see.
You had a question from Mike, but I don't actually see that one. Okay, so I'm going to answer the questions that I do see. Someone asked about watermarks. We actually prefer that you do not use watermarks. So please remove those if you have them. And those definitely will not show up through our searches on Google. There's another follow-up question on the images about putting a handbag on a mannequin. That is clutter-free. You can do that. Thanks for asking that. It's a very specific question, and it's a really good one. So yes, you can put your clothing on mannequins. You can put the handbags on a mannequin, and that would still be clutter-free. I have another question from Devin. Do you offer custom templates for eBay? We don't necessarily, but I know that on site you can purchase them or you can develop them yourself. I have another question here about promotions and where they appear in the listing views. And I can answer that. When you're doing specifically for promoted listings, because I'm not sure which promotions you're talking about, so let me answer it both ways. When you're doing promoted listings, those come up as sponsored listings in search results pages, and they're in a few places throughout the page. When you're doing promotions manager and you're setting up discounts for your buyers, those actually show up on the listing itself. So if it's a BOGO that you're setting up, a volume pricing discount, a shipping discount, when the buyer clicks into that listing itself, then they're going to see all of the discounts offered to it. And that's why the powerhouse is important, because you want to use promoted listings to get buyers to see your listings and search results. And then when they click into it, they'll actually see more about the discounts available to them there. Okay.
I'm back.
Hi.
Hey, so there was one here from Mike saying that is there a way to get your company logo to appear in search results? said he notices some companies, some sellers appearing in search results if there are multiple sellers for an item. You know anything about that one?
I do. I think unfortunately the answer is no.
Okay, that's a perfectly good answer, unfortunately, but that's the way it is.
The logos show up for specifically for direct brands.
Okay. And which of the promotions and tips and tools that you've mentioned apply to global sellers or sellers in Canada or Europe that are selling on eBay? Because a lot of our sellers do sell on multiple eBay geographies.
So all of the tools Seller Hub that are in Seller Hub are actually available to all sellers around the world. There's going to be some limitations, and you have to have a native site, for example, to use them in those particular regions. So promoted listings in the U.S. and isn't going to be. You won't be able to set up an international campaign. You'll be able to set it up for the U.S., but you can set up listings on those native sites and then use the same tools. And then there are certain tools where if you're selling across the platform, you'll see some of that information come into one dashboard, but you won't necessarily be able to promote, for example. But everything so far that we've talked about here is mostly on a global level.
Great. Well, that was a ton of great content, and thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us, and for everybody that sent in questions. If you have more questions, don't hesitate to email us as a follow-up to support@sellbrite.com, and we'll make sure to get those answers for you quickly.